over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, behold, he is calling Elisha. And one ran, and filling a sponge full of vinegar, put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink, saying, wait, let us see whether Elijah will come and take him down. And Jesus uttered in a loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two, from the top to the bottom. And when the centurion who had stood facing him saw that he thus breathed his last, he said, truly, this man is Son of God. I want to talk a little bit about the temple of Baal. Starting with the temple, there is an outer court where everybody could go, an inner court where certain people could go, and there's the Holy of Holies, and that was behind this veil. Only a priest could go in there once a year for a sacrifice. He'd sacrifice animals as an atonement for sin. But this had to be done every year. The veil, the curtain between the Holy of Holies that separates the Holy of Holies, was about 60 feet high, 4 inches thick. And 2 horses couldn't rip it apart. It was torn from the top to the bottom. Only God could do that. God took it, ripped it apart, and said, come on in, everyone's welcome. All we have to do is enter in. After he died, he was buried in a tomb provided by Joseph, by a man named Joseph. After 3 days, he rose from the dead, and he walked among the people for, I'm not sure how long, but they say roughly 500 people saw Jesus after he rose from the dead. After that, he ascended to heaven, and now he's seated at the right hand of the Father. The gospel is for everyone. As Matthew says, and Romans says, it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. Jesus originally came for the Jews to save God's people, but the Jews rejected his message. They rejected him. And the gospel went to the Gentiles. That was God's plan from the beginning, to offer a way for all of us to come back to him. I say come back because we're all sinners. Romans 3:23 says, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And that sin came in with Adam and Eve. And it continues to this day in each and every one of us. The Bible says, there is none righteous, no, not one. On our own, we aren't righteous. We aren't worthy to go to heaven. We're worthy of hell. But God provided a way where we can escape hell. Jesus wasn't ashamed to go to the cross for us. Matthew 10:32-33 says, whoever therefore shall confess me before men, I will confess before my Father which is in heaven. But whoever shall deny me before men, him I will deny before my Father which is in heaven. Do you confess Jesus Christ, or you deny him? Are you afraid to tell others? If you know Christ, are you afraid to tell others? Fear is something that God does not want us to have. I had fear of talking to Mr. Miller. I had fear of what he thought of me. Some people have fear of being killed by somebody they talk to. But in Matthew 10:28, it says, "Do not fear them which can kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both the soul and body in hell." This verse is saying, do not fear men. Men have no control over your eternal destiny, but God does. He's the one you should fear. Not in a reverent way, not in a trembling, fearful way, but reverence for him. I want to read something here. It's called "Died for Me." While searching in an answer to a home letter for a grave in a soldier's cemetery in Nashville, I noticed a man in civilian's dress kneeling before a grave and evidently writing upon the tainted headboard. When I came to the spot, he was standing in front of the board, his arms folded and his face bathed in tears. He was an Illinois farmer, and this was the grave of an Illinois soldier. "Is that your boy, sir?" I asked. "No. He lived in our town and had come to find his grave." "Perhaps you represent his father who couldn't come." "Yes. My neighbor was glad to have me come, but I came for myself. You see, I have 7 children, all of them small, and my wife is sickly. I was drafted. There's nobody to carry on the farm, and I couldn't hire a substitute. To hire a substitute cost around $300. My $13 a month wouldn't feed my family. It seemed as though I must go and they must suffer. When we were in our greatest trouble about it, just the morning I was to report to camp, my neighbor's son came over to the house and offered to go to war for me. He said he had nobody depending on him and could go better than I. He went and was wounded at Chickamauga, brought to a Nashville hospital, and this is his grave." The stranger sobbed aloud. I read the words which he had traced with his pencil in large, awkward letters under the private's name. "He died for me." Yet he had come all the way from his prairie home at a great cost to himself and put his grateful mark upon the grave of his substitute. That's what Jesus is for us. He's our substitute. He took the shame of sin. He took the pain of death in our place for us. And all he asks is to reach out and accept his gift, his free gift of salvation, a gift that we aren't worthy to buy. We cannot buy. The price is too high because it costs us our life. You have heard the gospel now. Now I want to tell you how to receive Jesus Christ, how to receive that salvation he gives. Hebrews 9:12 says, "Neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, he entered into the holy place, once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us." Unlike in the Jewish times, and where the priest had to go in every year, Jesus died for us once and for all. He had a great sacrifice.